everyone, and welcome back to the Future Talks conducted by Prayaana Labs. My name is Chelsea Sunil and I'm your host for the day. So before we go into the session, I'm going to introduce you to Prayaana in case you don't know about us already. Prayaana is a unique employability, entrepreneurship, and innovation ecosystem for women. Prayaana Labs give wholesome career support services, right from career counseling, training, mentoring, and recruitment services all under one umbrella. This is Prayaana Collective. Prayaana Collective is a venture of Prayaana. It's the first of its kind in India with uniqueness in the fact that it's the first e-commerce platform that is solely dedicated towards the empowerment of women. The platform is uniquely designed with an attractive affiliate marketing modeling where all the customers are given an opportunity for lifetime savings and earnings. Now, in case you're looking for unique, handmade, authentic products, Prakol is your stop. So make sure to check us out at www.prakol.com. Now, during the section, there's a good chance you're going to have queries. So for all your queries, the answers will be made at the end of the session. So please feel free to leave your queries in the live chat box below. So welcome, and we are going to go into today's session. Today's session is on upskilling leadership to succeed in the post-crisis world. A talk which is like a necessity of the hour because we know once the crisis is over, once the world is back, with all economies booming, we're going to need new skills. We're going to have to develop ourselves. So Mrs. Yukti Kapoor Mehandiratta is here to do just that. She's the CEO of SBY Academy, silhouette by Yukti. So she's an Ericsson certified coach and former GladRags Mrs. 2008 runner-up. She's worked in several MNCs such as Barclays, Citi, the Northern Trust. She has been awarded the National Women Excellence Award back in 2018, extended by Indo-European Chamber of Small and Medium Enterprises in association with Techno India University. So welcome to the show, ma'am, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Elsie, and thank you, Prayaana, for creating a platform such as this. In such negative times, it's really important that we have positive messages going out. And I think what makes us positive is when we are productive. So what I intend to talk about today with you all is how can we use this downtime to up our game? How can we focus on ourselves and invest some time on ourselves to see how better can we prepare for the time to come? So as Chelsea mentioned in her introduction, that what we're going to face in the world outside, what we're going to experience as business is not going to be business as usual. And that is not because of the virus. That is because what virus has done to our way of thinking, what virus has done to the way we operate. We, all of us together used to believe that the only way to work is when people sit in front of you and work. If they are at home, it's almost equivalent to somebody just Netflixing or chilling out. That cannot be called as work. And what this virus, this situation, this crisis has taught us is different ways to look at productivity, different ways to look at work. And it has helped us to teach our own self about staying focused, delivering to our commitments, staying productive. All these new learnings have been the need of the hour. But like they say, every dark cloud has a silver lining. The silver lining to this entire Corona situation right now is what we are realizing about our own strengths, what we are realizing about our own weaknesses. What is it that I lack in? Am I able to divide the work, properly across days that I have so that I'm able to deliver what is expected of me on time? Am I able to divide the hours I have in a day to stay productive and focused on what is important? Which part of my day is exhibiting my strength? And what part of the day is highlighting my area of concern, something that I really need to look at? So these are the things that should be driving us right now. These are the things that I'm totally diving into myself. Some part of me shows when, I'm shuffling from one call to the other. Some part of me shows when I'm creating content, and some realization on more depth. So every one of us, each one of us has this great opportunity, and in a way a unique opportunity, to not just work, but also observe our own selves while we are at work, because we are within the comfort of our home. So it gives us that bit of mindset, that bit of bandwidth to see more than what we otherwise used to see. Now that we know this time is not all negative and it's not all bad, I want to add a little more positivity and more focus on productivity. So when I talk about leadership, let me start by saying that leadership is not a role. I'm not talking about you as a leader alone. I'm talking about how you want to lead your own life. Now, whether you're running your own business or you are an important part of an enterprise, which every employee is in any enterprise, how can you identify your own strength as leaders? And how do you plan to upskill your leadership so that you stay relevant in the times to come? So what is going to change in the post-crisis era, in my view, is people's understanding of working from remote locations. Less and less need to hold large teams together and insist on having everything in-house. There'll be more emphasis on collaboration across geographies because we've already got a taste of it through all the webinars and Zoom calls and live sessions that we have got used to. So the world that we are preparing ourselves for is the world that will operate on 4 critical C's of leadership. The first is creativity. How can we be creative in our own space? How can we look at doing what we have been doing forever in a different way? How can I think out of the box? How can I create a vertical which never existed, but that is the vertical which is more relevant today? How can I look at dissecting my business, which has been a huge success story till now, and picking up pieces which are going to be irrelevant because of the change in the environment and because the ask is not the same anymore? What can I do with what I'm left with? And how can I creatively weave all these few parts together and bring in some new parts which did not even exist? So all this is a creative mind at work. A creative mind is the ability to look at a situation with the relevance of the environment and making your work still relevant. So no matter what you do, I would want you to put that work on a table literally in front of you in a diagram or in some visual manner, and just walk around it to see if every aspect of it is still relevant to what people need today. Am I still delivering in the way it should be delivered and it is being consumed today? So as a coach, as a trainer, my company runs a lot of offline workshops, and we go across the country to deliver these workshops. So for us, traveling from point A to point B is very normal. It's like touching from one part of the city to the other. We pretty much touch different cities in the same day. But we are all on a freeze right now. Right? We're all confined to our homes. So how do we continue operating? And that's when we thought of creating an online course. So the 4 C's that I'm touching upon is in fact now a full-fledged course that is being offered to people who want to stay relevant and use this time to upskill their own ability to deliver. So this is like a long 15 days course we've put together. And all that happened in just 3 to 4 days of brainstorming, when we realized that we need to continue adding value, we need to continue staying relevant, we need to keep going. What can we do with what we know? And how can we bring in some creativity to do it in a different way? So from an offline to online was a huge transition for us because we are pretty much technically challenged. We are not tech people. We didn't have LMS of our own before all this happened, and all that got created. So the point that I'm making here is when you give yourself no choice but to stay out of the box, you will realize that creativity is not confined to those who believe in the artistic forms of creativity. We are all blessed with creativity. And we have elements of creativity that show in the day as well. It is just that we have a certain cliche understanding of what creativity is. And that is what sometimes confines us to bring it to our business, to bring it to our real world and make some real use of this skill and not just make it look nice on a wall with a nice quotation, right? So creativity is not just a nice word to use. It is a very handy skill to have to stay relevant in your game. So that's the first C that I want you to take away. Creativity, bringing in creativity as a skill, understanding where you stand on your ability to be creative, And if that's what you need to work on, then we need to find ways to do that. So that needs a deeper intervention. But it definitely calls for an intervention, irrespective of where you think you are on your scale of 10 on creativity. The second C that I want to touch upon is collaboration. Collaboration is going to be the way this world will operate from here on. It's as simple as that. There is absolute clear understanding of the fact that everything I do doesn't have to be done under my roof. There are people sitting in different parts of the world, and they are very much accessible. They are pretty much a call away or a Zoom away. And all I need to do is connect with them, and I can get better value for my clients. So if we are people who are used to doing things in a set pattern, in a set way, we need to wake up in this moment right now. Otherwise, we will absolutely be out of the picture. We will be irrelevant before we realize. So this is the only time. In fact, when people say lockdown is extended, I feel like some part of me feels it's a blessing in disguise, because I have a little more time to shape myself up and work on myself. But if I don't have a path, and if I don't have any clarity on what I need to work on, then I might just for kicks pick up a few things that, I can learn. Like I can learn a new language, I can learn some new dishes, some different cuisines that I can try cooking. Nothing of this is bad, right? But how is this learning time that I'm investing adding value to the time to come? Because if I am considering this to be any break, stroke, vacation of sorts, then I'll be very unpleasantly surprised to see what is in store after the lockdown opens, after business catches pace, after the world comes back as how we've known it to be. The way we're operating will be very, very different. So when we learn to collaborate is when we are able to add more value to our clients. So Prayaana, for example, here is a beautiful example of collaboration. They are getting people like me and other people, other experts from their own domains to come and share value. And with all this collective wisdom, they're offering greater value to you as audience. So they could just run the show themselves. They're experts in some domain as well. But that is limited value. When you collaborate with more people who have different skill sets, who have different expertise, you create more value for your client. And that is the power of collaboration. Now, collaboration doesn't just happen in terms of synergizing, businesses together. It is also a mindset. In my view, collaboration can only happen when people in their mind move away from the mindset of competition towards the mindset of collaboration, away from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, away from, oh God, this is my piece and, I can't share any slice of my pie, to believing that when I share the slice of my pie, the pie gets bigger and my slice gets thicker. That is the mindset of a collaborator. So what am I going to do in this time, and what would I want you to do at this time of, lockdown or downtime or whatever you may want to call it, is to see how can I strengthen my ability to be a collaborator? How can I let go of the insecurities that are hidden somewhere in my system and bring in more people and share everything that I'm doing and everything that I know more openly, without worrying about my wisdom getting spread out, and then what is it that I know that others don't? How can I let go of everything I know? Because the moment you do that, you are inviting more energy, you are inviting synergies, you are inviting more power. Because it is also a great realization for you to know how much more depth do you need to discover for yourself. So collaboration is a mindset. Collaboration is the need of the hour. Collaboration is a skill that needs to be upskilled for everybody who wants to stay relevant and survive through this crisis situation. So that's the second C, creativity and collaboration. The third thing that I want to touch upon is critical thinking. Now, critical thinking is our ability to detach our emotions from decision making or problem solving. If there is a certain situation in front of you, what do? Do you get sucked into that situation emotionally? Do you use your impulsive intuition to say, my gut says this is the right thing to do, and that happens very often? Or do you just straight operate from past experiences and say, you know what, the situation has come in front of me earlier, and when this happens, we do that. And because that worked yesterday, it will definitely work today, and it will continue to work forever? Absolutely not. We know that. If someone were to say this to you, your advice would be, it doesn't work that way. But when we function in the same manner, we seldom realize that we are falling prey to our own knowing. We've known forever that the same things don't always work, but we forever continue to do it that way. And this happens when we are not equipped to think critically. Now, when I say equipped, we have the ability, all of us have the ability to think critically. What we don't do is bring in conscious learning to be better critical thinkers. Now, let me take a moment here to elaborate on what I mean by conscious learning. So there is learning, and then there is conscious learning. And I believe that if you're just learning, then you're only keeping yourself busy. You're in this state of motion, in your mind preparing yourself for something. But it is still just a preparation. There is no outcome. There is no clear action. You're just learning. I'm learning French. I'm learning. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. You never know when it comes handy. It's a good thing to learn. So I'm in motion. I feel like I'm being productive. I feel like I'm doing something useful. But there is no clear goal. There is no clear outcome in my mind with which I am learning what I'm learning. If there is a reason for me to learn French as a language, then I'm consciously learning. Now you see the difference? Conscious learning is when you are learning with an objective, a goal in mind. So that learning doesn't go on forever, and it starts becoming action and gives you an output and outcome. If you're only learning, then you're probably just keeping yourself busy and creating a feel-good factor, but it is not aligned to any goal that you set for yourself. Or worse still, you don't have a learning goal. You don't have a goal for which you should decide what needs learning, what needs attention, what do I need to pick, which course should I do. As we speak, there are multiple webinars going on. As we speak in this moment, even right now, I mean, for me, I'll have to say no to a few webinars to pick a few others, because that's all that's just happening right now. That's all that's going on right now. So with so much information overload, as a learner, how do I decide where to invest my time? Is it just a function of ease? That it's easy for me to connect, this is a free webinar and let's just do it. And I don't want to invest in any webinar. There's so much free stuff happening, let's take it. So is that the reason why I'm learning what I'm learning? Or is it just a function of time that, okay, so normally between 3 to 5, I don't have to do any household chores. Kids are pretty much taken care of, and I think I can learn. My office hours are also not so crazy. Good time, let me see whatever is going on. I'll just log in and learn. Is that how I'm learning? So if I'm learning because it's a function of ease, because it is cheap, or because it is it allows me to do it and I have that little extra time to give away, I am just in a state of motion. There is no action. I am just going on and keeping myself busy and creating a feel good. There is no good that will come out of this effort. Even if it's for free, you've invested your time, right? Your 1 hour into listening to me right now needs to be aligned to something that you're seeking, something that you're looking for, some space in your life you've already recognized and acknowledged where this information will go and plug and play there, where it'll just go and fit into your jigsaw as an important piece, and then you can take off from there with this learning. Even if you have to pay for such a learning, it is much more useful than to just do a webinar because it's free, or because it's easy, or because it's available. So I urge you to shift from the state of learning to the state of conscious learning. And when you decide what you want to learn, please never hesitate in investing in your learning. That is the most important investment you will ever make. So coming back to critical thinking. Critical thinking as an ability helps you to do better conscious learning. It will always detach emotions from the decisions that are good for you, the decisions that you need to make in that moment. It will help you look at a problem in a way that you can look at when somebody else is sharing that problem. Because the moment the same problem it becomes my problem, I'm not able to find a solution with the same level of capability. You would have felt this yourself. There are people who say that, I'm such an agony aunt. Anytime my friends are going through a tough time, they come to me, and a small discussion with me opens up something for them. Happens to you. It happens to many of us. We have these people for whom we are like a call away. We are their helpline. They want to call, and the moment they speak to us, somehow things just work out for them. But when we are in a similar situation ourselves, we feel stuck. And we feel stuck not because we don't have the intellect to deal with that situation. It is because we are getting emotionally sucked into that situation. So our critical mind is not at work. We are just in the middle of the situation. When you're in the middle of something, if you're in the middle of a deep forest, is there a way for you to know how deep this forest is? Maybe the forest was deep, but you are less than a mile away from the highway. How would you know if you're right in the middle of it and all you have is dense trees around you? It's only when you move from this point and go up 30,000 feet, you see the entire forest, you realize, oh God, I'm like right here and the highway is right here. I just need to take 50 steps in this direction and I'm out of this. So this ability to move from the middle of the forest to up on this 30,000 feet level is critical thinking. This is the ability that helps us to move from this point to this point. And no matter what we do in life, we need to keep coming up, hover around what we're doing, and go back in and get back to business. Come up again and hover around and then go back in. If we don't do this, we're forever working in this small little silo, small little comfort zone that we've created without doing justice to the potential that we have to do a lot more. So these terms like unleash your potential, explore your power have been so exploited that people have started underestimating the meaning of this. Now, while it could be a very nice marketing line or a gimmick for many other, companies, nobody can take away the fact that it really does have a meaning. So if I'm a learner, I would just want to stick to the meaning and not get carried away with, oh God, here comes another unleash your power program. Right? But what I need to understand is, what does it mean for me to unleash my power? Am I stuck with not being creative? Do I always think the same way? Do I always do everything the same way? When I go to a restaurant, I eat the same thing. When I go to a coffee shop, I have that same coffee. When I cook in the same way, pretty much the same set of dishes. Where am I allowing myself to explore, experiment, try new things, push my limit, do a little out of my comfort zone, a little into the unknown? Because no matter how much you know very little. And that's the truth for all of us. Till such time we move out of that little knowing into the unknown, there is no way for us to be one of those few who will leave a mark in this world. And I'm sure we all want to do that. There are a few who want to make a lot of money. There are a few who don't get driven by that. But one thing that combines all of us and is common amongst us all is the need to add value to this world, is the need to be remembered when we are gone. And what we are remembered for is what we do when we are alive. So what is it that you can do when you're right here in this world and you're still alive? What can you know about yourself so that you can do that better? What can you learn and upskill yourself with so that you can add even more value to people around you? So look at these C's that I'm talking about, the skills that I'm bringing to your notice. See which one of these need more attention than the others. Maybe all do. Make a plan, create an action plan for yourself. So like how in this course, we have a day-wise action plan that we give to our participants, that every day work on just this one small piece and then add another one and another one and another one. And you go beyond what you had known as your knowing. And you start getting into the unknown and make that as your new knowing. Make sense? So how do you expand that little circle and make it bigger and bigger? It takes tiny steps, but these are not steps in different multiple directions. These are tiny steps in one direction with a lot of clarity and a certain objective in mind. towards which you are taking these steps, right? So when you bring in creativity, the ability to think out of the box, when you bring in collaboration, the ability to let go of insecurities and bring in more people so you learn together and grow together, and when you make yourself a critical thinker, and you're able to come up and see where you are, what needs to change, what needs to look different, and then go back in. This is when you are developing your power, you're unleashing your power, you're adding more power to yourself. And the last C that I want to bring to your notice of the 4 C's that I promised to share is communication. Now, a lot of us have always understood communication as a way to interact with people. And even there, people have a certain limiting belief about themselves. I am not an extrovert. I can't talk too much. I'm a better listener. Or I don't speak too well and my English is not so good. Or any language that is common in my environment, I'm not so good at. So, I don't want to talk. I'm okay to just listen. I'm okay to be a shadow. Even in that space, we have areas which need to be addressed and we know it very well. But it's just that we've never gone around designing a plan to make that happen, to get out of that knowing of what we need to work on and get started with the work. But if we haven't done that, that needs to be fixed for sure. But like I said, what's going to change in the world we are about to face is also the way we're going to communicate. Look at how we're communicating right now. At this point, I don't even know how many people I'm reaching out to, but I'm reaching out with the same level of passion that I would want to reach out to, whether it is 1 or 1 million. Do you have that content when you're communicating today? Do you have something that anybody should care to listen to? Do you have the passion and the confidence to share that content? That is all what communication will mean from here on. Communication would not only be restricted to instructions. I'm telling you to do this, you listen to me, you have an argument or you have consensus and you go and do it. That is just instructional communication. Communication is interactive. Communication is a two-way process. Communication is when you have something to say. How can you add more meat to that? How can you enrich your content? And that does not mean trying to be a speaker. It's all right if you don't want to be a speaker. You can choose not to be a speaker, or you can say there are other things that will get added to the skill set. I don't have those skills. It's all right. I choose not to be a speaker. Perfectly fine. But you will still have to communicate. You will have to communicate with the environment around you. And you still need content there. So there's no shying away from the fact that when I'm engaging in a conversation with somebody, I need to have content. And content means sharing what you know, your knowledge and your experience. Knowledge, like I said a while back, can never be enough. You can never have enough knowledge about anything. I am a coach, and as a leadership coach, I deal with the top management of many enterprises. And when we talk extensively about leadership with them, as much as I'm a coach in that environment, there is always something I'm learning from them in that environment. And then I go beyond that and deeper into more things that I need to learn for something new that opened up in that session for me. So is there an end to knowing? No. Is there a stage where anyone can really feel like you're an expert in that domain? I don't think so. I don't think I'll be able to call myself an expert to the extent that I know everything there is to know about anything at all, right? So which means it's a continuous journey. But it is also a conscious and deliberate journey. It is not a journey that just goes on in the background. We need to bring that into action and take action so that we stay on this journey of continuous learning. And when you are continuously learning, what are you doing? You're developing content. How does this content become your content? When you bring in your stories to your knowing. Simple, right? So it's a cocktail. You're learning, you're bringing in some new knowledge. For example, from this session, maybe you're taking away what are the 4 skills that we should look at. We should look at, creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication, content, right? Now you've got some content that these are the 4 things which are needed. Now, each can be explained in your own style, in your own way. And to that, you add your own experiences, your own stories, which don't always have to be success stories. Like I started this conversation by sharing our limitations at SBY Academy. Like we were totally offline. And we are now absolutely online, 100% online. We don't have an option to be offline. So we're anyways online, but we are online so well that we will continue with this model. And this probably will be a bigger piece of our business than offline, even after offline takes off for us. Even when that starts happening for us, the online platform is probably going to add a bigger chunk to our business. That's how online we are. But I started by sharing that it was a huge limitation we had to overcome. So when you are building this content for your communication, it doesn't always have to be, oh, see how awesome I am. See how I'm on top of everything. I've just figured everything out. I know it. No, that's not content, and that's not even authentic, because none of us really do. If you haven't learned from your mistakes, means you will continue to make mistakes and maybe bigger ones. It is just that you are in the state of denial in your mind right now. Something is trying to convince you that you're above this, you're not making as many mistakes as many other people around you. You've figured this out. Maybe you are figuring out some stuff, but there's so much more to figure. So the more authentic you are with your content, the more people will connect with you. And when they connect with you is when you have the opportunity to do what you really want to do in life, if that is to add value. And adding value does not mean being in a coaching or training profession. You add value with every conversation you have, with every person you meet. When this session is over, and hopefully we encourage you to share some feedback on the session, which I would love if that's the part of the process here with Prayaana, your feedback is going to add value to my life. So even when I don't know you as yet, you have the capacity to add value to my life. So we add value each time we put our hand up and say, I have some content to share, which is worth sharing, because I'm bringing in a beautiful mix of what I know and who I am, of what I'm learning and what I'm practicing. And I'm putting this together and I'm showing it and sharing it as it is, without putting it on any kind of a pedestal to say, look at that and try to become that or try to do that. Right? So we're not putting any piece of knowledge or content on any pedestal. We are creating content consciously so it adds value to anybody around us, to anybody we can touch, anybody we can reach out to. That is going to be the way we will communicate in the times to come. The water cooler conversations and gossips and all these sidey conversations that we have always been worried about, I'd be surprised if that is still going to be as much as it used to be. Because what I have very closely observed in different environments and different kind of communities that I'm a part of is that people have really cut their pieces together to construct and create. They're creating new, preparing themselves for the new normal that we're all living through, and staying abreast with what's going on as well. So I'm not suggesting stay ignorant. I'm not saying be unaware of what's going on and how Corona is spreading out. But I'm also saying that don't wait for Corona to hit you, and don't think that there's no point learning because, one day it's going to take over and all of us will die. Even if it wasn't a Corona situation, we all anyways were to die one day, isn't it? Then why were we ever learning? So whether it is a crisis situation or not, learning has to be a conscious, continuous, and deliberate process. What has come as a blessing in disguise is that we have more time to learn because we have lesser distractions around. Yes, there are distractions in the house. There are more chores to do. Kids are around all the time. Your spouse is around and the demands are more than usual. But these are beautiful distractions that we have probably prayed for in our life, isn't it? To have someone to talk to have someone to care for, to have someone care for you. Managing those distractions can be a separate discussion we'll have another day. But that is still a smaller. The larger discussions were when we were going out in the world without realizing how distracted we were all the time, with all the commute, all the travel, all the small talk with people that we had to keep engaging with, right? When you're in office, as much as you're there for 10 hours, 12 hours, 13 hours, look at how productive you actually are. How many times do you break out for some quick coffee with someone or just a small talk or get into a meeting where you wonder why you're even sitting there? Why were you required? but you're sitting through it because your boss has asked you to be there. Just because you're in office doesn't mean you're more productive than what you can be today. I did some quick math, and in one of my interviews or talks, I think earlier, I've even shared that all of us on an average have 6 hours more of productive time than we did in the offline world, right? So you figure out what that number is for you, but that is definitely more than zero. How do you utilize that time, and how do you do justice to what you have at hand? How do you manage to stay more productive and get more from this downtime so you can up your game is only your responsibility. And let me say one more time that this is a golden opportunity and probably a unique opportunity for us to get into our own self, our own mind, our own set of abilities, and pick up a few pieces that need to be polished, shaped up, cleaned up, and upskilled if need be, so that when we go back to what we are waiting to figure, we are more prepared than we ever were. Right? So once again, I'm leaving you with the 4 C's, the most critical and relevant skills to have in this century, pre-crisis and post-crisis, more so post-crisis than ever before, is how creative can you be? How can you collaborate with people and bring more people on board and learn from each other and having that mindset? How can you think critically and not get sucked into every situation, but see how you're making decisions, how you can come up and observe a situation, analyze and assess a situation instead of diving in and taking quick decisions? And how can you create authentic, valuable content for good, effective, and impactful communication? That's all from me for today. Thank you so much. It was lovely addressing you all.
Hello, ma'am. So there's like a few questions for you.
Sure.
So you spoke about collaboration. So in the post-crisis world, it's going to be each business, trying to get ahead. It's going to be a really big competition. So how does a collaboration work in that kind of a situation?
Right. So good question, because businesses who are going to be doing something like that are not going to survive for too long. And I can give that to you in writing. What I'm aware of, being in this parlance of top management, is all enterprises trying to figure out how they can collaborate already. So they already have been able to shortlist areas which are not going to be as relevant as they were earlier. And what are the missing gaps, and who can I bring in or partner with, right? Or bring in consultants or coaches, or doing a joint venture if I need to create a proposition that serves my customer. If today you are in business with the mindset of getting higher profitability and just that, surviving in this environment is going to be impossible. But if you are in the business to add value and to serve your customer, then you will see collaboration as the only way to do that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. So there's another question. Ma'am, thank you for the 4 C's. You spoke about communication. In my company, we are in the process of sending out employees. How can I communicate this to my team members effectively?
Good question. And I'm glad that in such a role, you are thinking of, you're empathizing with people who are receiving these unpleasant messages. And that speaks of your own value, when you can feel the pain that somebody else must be going through. So for that empathy you have, let me congratulate you. And I also understand that there is a limitation you have because of the role that you're playing in the organization. In such a scenario, what works as a tool or a technique, if I may say, is coaching. So I would encourage you to read up a bit on coaching. It is an ability to ask questions in a way that the other person is able to find their own solutions and empathize better with the situation, than to be more instructive. So if I say our profitability is shrinking, we're not making as much money as we used to, so we can't afford your salary anymore. You can consider this to be our last day, and I'm sorry, but you don't have to show up from tomorrow. Okay, I'm only conveying a message. And it is an important message to be conveyed because my top management has asked me to do that. But what if I bring in coaching as a technique over here and I say, you're aware of how business is going on, and we don't want to put any false hope over here. We are in a very vulnerable state. We're going through the worst situation ever. there is no profitability. In fact, we're barely sustaining. What do you think we should be looking at? What would be your suggestion? What do you think we should be looking at? And then that person could say, I don't know, maybe we don't need so many people. Yeah, so we've had this internal discussion and we're wondering if we can kind of create a plan right now because of the way things are, to pause employments for a few people and continue with a smaller group. And when things are back, of course, back to normal, we want to have you back, as a part of the organization. So something around those lines. Now, I don't know what the nitty-gritties are in this situation. I need to know more to help you with the right question. But let me tell you, there are a set of right questions that you can bring in the situation. It's not about asking for a suggestion against the company policy, but it's about finding questions that makes the other person feel a little more involved in this process, instead of suddenly feeling like an outsider. Imagine somebody who served a company and suddenly told, hey, hello, you don't have keys to this door anymore, right? Anybody would feel used in such a scenario. Now, no matter how small I am in the company, I don't want to feel like I was used. And now you don't need me anymore and you just pick me up and you just threw me out of the whole scene, right? So very delicate situation. It needs a more detailed discussion. But for the sake of time, I'll just leave you with this thought to explore. How can you make a more inclusive conversation instead of it being only instructional?
Okay, ma'am. So another question is, what changes do we need to make for our organization procedures and support resources in present global financial situation?
Could you repeat the question? Sorry, your voice was breaking in between.
Oh, okay. What do we need to make to our organization procedures and support resources in the present global financial situation?
What changes do we need to make in the processes to support?
Yeah, the organization
structure. Is that the question?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the first thing we need to do is build in trust. Build in trust in the teams to know that we don't need to monitor people as much as we've always believed we need to. We need to trust that everybody has joined this organization to add value. We need to trust that we all have our own skill sets and our own unique ability to contribute. And with that trust, we are able to bring in flexibility in the processes, right? So work from home is a classic example. Now, if you're working from home, Chelsea, and I call you like 5 times an hour to check that you're, at your job and you're doing what you're supposed to do, how can I expect you to be productive? All the time you're waiting for my next call so that you can give me another update, right? Can I trust you with the deliverable? And can I trust you with the fact that whether you do what you're supposed to do while watching Netflix, or are you doing while you're having lunch, or you lock yourself in the room and you focus and do what you do, what I want is a quality output within timelines that we've agreed upon. Can we create that space for each other? Can we create that level of maturity through our processes, which helps people to play on their strengths and brings in a level of responsibility and accountability at their end? Imagine if I don't ask Chelsea for updates. There is more pressure on her to deliver, right? Because she knows that she's committed for it to be done by end of day today. She'll make sure that she's doing it. And if I'm checking 20 times in a day, have you done it? Have you done it? Have you done it? She's taking no accountability. It's almost as if she's doing this for me, but it's not happening for me. It's her part of the job, right? So that happens when I give her the space to feel accountable for it. So what we really need to address in our current processes is to create space for trust, to create flexibility, and to create accountability in our teams. You will see much higher output and much better quality of output if you're able to bring that into your processes.
Okay. So there's another question. So this is by Kamal Saini. So what he's asking us, if you could discuss a little more about the courses you're offering, the programs.
Okay. So if you go to our website, sbyacademy.in, it's not .com, it's .in, sbyacademy.in. On the homepage, you will see this course called Upskilling Leadership Blueprint. Currently, this course is running in a batch. So you can register yourself And when we release the next batch, we will send out a communication to you. This is a 15 days course, which helps you to upskill on these 4 C's, irrespective of what your business or background is. And it is broken into a masterclass for each C, which I take myself. It's an hour and a half long masterclass. Then we give you homework, which is reading assignments and books we recommend on that subject. And then there is interviews that we conduct with the experts from the industry. Like Prahlad Kakkar is talking about creativity, for example, Ashish Vidyarthi, I'm sure talks about communication. So we have collaborated. We have practiced all the 4 C's that we are advocating, even in creating this course. So you will get the detail of this course on our website, and it is running in batches right now. So just register yourself. Whenever we up for the next batch, our team will send the communication out to you.
Okay, ma'am. So now I'm going to read some of the feedbacks which we've already received.
Sure, please. It's when I start writing. Yeah.
Yeah. So one is by Aditi Radhakrishnan. You might know her. She works for Mitara Consulting Services. She runs it. Okay. So what she said was she liked the model and the plan for the upskilling course, and she said all the best. And then there's one by Gayatri Krishnadas. What she said is, thanks for the wonderful session. Yes, conscious learning and collaboration is very important. And she's feeling so privileged to be a member of Prayaana. So I'm going to say thank you for that. And yeah.
Great. Thank you, Gayatri. Thank you, Aditi.
And then there's a request by Shirley K to actually repeat the website.
Okay, that's www.SBY, silhouette by Yukti, SBY Academy, ACADEMY.in. So if we can share that with you, Chelsea, and if there is a way for you to communicate it with your...
Yeah, we'll send it via WhatsApp channels. Yeah, we'll do that.
Do that too.
And then there's a comment by Reenu Zakaria. She said, very informative session. Thank you. She's thanked you again.
Thank you so much.
And there's another comment. Thank you for the great session. It was simple and beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad you found value in it. Continue to up your game, guys. We'll never get this time again.
Yeah. So with that, we come to an end of the session, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time. And great session. The 4 C's. We'll all take that into account. We'll all learn to upskill because nobody wants to be irrelevant. Right. Once the world comes. So yeah, so now it's time for feedback. So we've already received plenty of feedback, but oh my God. Okay, so my laptop seems to be up. So now we've already received plenty of feedback, but in case you still feel like there's more you want to say, please feel free to contact us and leave it as a comment in the chat box below. And we have another session planned for today, and it's a music therapy for the mindset shift. So it's going to be conducted by the CEO of Dhruva Music. So it's from 5 to 6 p.m. So please be there and don't forget to subscribe us. Thank you, ma'am, once again for joining us.
Thank you. Guys.
Yeah, okay, bye.
Thank you, Chandra, and thank you, Prayaana, for doing this beautiful work that you're doing. It's really nice. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So see you all at 5. At 5 o'clock. Be there and don't forget to subscribe us. Subscribe, like, and share. So thank you and have a nice day.